Hey, life group leaders. I hope you're doing well. This week, I just want to do a recap of the meeting because I know we didn't have everybody there. So, as we met, we had a brief intro from Morgan Ferris. She actually talked about the church app and the usefulness of it and why we're using it, how to utilize it. So, if you'd like more information on that, we can talk about that later. But primarily for this video, I want to talk about the main focus of the meeting. And when we gathered, I want to talk about really two things: the state of life groups now and kind of where I hope we're going in the future. And this is something that I want to encourage you that we're doing this together. This is not me saying it has to be one way or the other. As we met in the class, I shared with them I think I've met with all life groups except for two, primarily the two women's classes. And I've met with them individually and I've talked with them. And so as we've met, or I've met with other people for lunch or coffee, and we've talked about some elements of life groups, I've noticed a few things. And so I'll, I have a handout that we gave out that I'll post as an attachment. But I wanted to give you just an update. First, we have 23 life groups. Yesterday, we had one that merged with another group because someone's having some health issues. So there is a change there. But the out of the 23 life groups, they're a mixture of those using curriculum. We have 13 using curriculum, and we have 10 using doing independent Bible study. And among these curriculum, we have a couple opportunities where one is related to a topical study, Bible study for life. Then there's the Gospel Project, which covers Genesis to Revelation in 3 years, looking at the big picture, emphasizing how every passage connects to Christ, as well as some rich theological pieces that are helpful for our church members. And then we have Explore the Bible, which is more of a book by book study. It goes slower, takes longer, but I think in about 7 years you're going to go through most of the Bible. And so between those three, there's some really good opportunities. There's another one that's being utilized by one group called Right Now Media, and it offers some video resources, and you can actually share that with your class, watch the videos, and have discussions. But then we have the independent studies, and I think that's more they map out what they're going to study, and then the class goes through it, and they go slow, and they take their time, and they really process the word together. Now, whichever plan they're using, at the end of the day, Scripture is the ultimate source, right? It is the curriculum. For those that have the curriculum, it's mainly a guide to help them and provide structure, commentary, and other things. No commentary or no curriculum is going to be perfect, right? No, not one fits all sizes for depending on stage of life, class emphasis, different things like that. And so I wanted to make sure everyone was aware these are what we have and this is what we're doing. But we also have different styles. Some groups, they're very discussion based and they just have question after question after question, and it's great because it has a lot of engagement. Then you have some that are very lecture driven. Because they're lecture driven, what that offers is it provides the teacher the ability to guide them to the intended outcome, which really is what the curriculums do anyway. It's more showing the things in the text and not as engaged. Now, there are blends, and I know sitting on one class isn't enough to get everything, but it does give us an opportunity to see those things and how it benefits because each class is doing something different. And I bring up that they're all doing something different, but there are things that they're also doing that are the same. And I'll include this in the handout and you'll see this. But we have certain values that I think I've seen across all life groups, and they're all doing them a little bit differently, but they're all similar, right? If our vision statement is to embrace generations, equip families, and engage the world, I'm seeing how we're doing bits and pieces of those things in our life group and how it'll serve as a springboard to future opportunities. And so as we are figuring out what are life groups and what do we value and what are we aiming to do, the main thing for us really, I think, boils down to these 9 principles, which I think you could boil down to 3. But each class, biblically grounded, right? The goal is we want to see the word transform our people. It's not a curriculum. It's not our opinions. It's the gospel. It's Scripture. And because of that, because Scripture is our primary text, we see how all lessons point to Christ. And so the second point is we want to be Christ-centered. And because we're Christ-centered, we structure everything from who he is, what he values, and his mission and what he's called us to do. Third, we want to be a gospel-driven community. Because Christ came to set us free with the gospel and to share it, we don't want our life groups to be social clubs. And I know it's really easy for us to gravitate between social clubs and cliques when we've been spending so much time together. But the beauty of a life group is that we do life together and it goes beyond the walls of the building. Right? As the church, we go into our community. The fourth is that Spirit-led teaching. We depend on the Spirit, not a curriculum, right? While we may utilize a curriculum, the curriculum is not the final say. The curriculum is there as a benefit and just as a guide to provide a path for us so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel and come up with our own reading plans. And so it gives provided commentary and things like that, and it's helpful. The other is that, as I mentioned before, we want to be scripture-driven with our lessons. Everything should be centered on the Word, whether we use a curriculum or not, whether we're using doing a few verses a day or a whole chapter a day. We want to begin and end in Scripture so that we let that inform our way of teaching and equipping and even the application. Other things that I'm noticing, our classes are saturated in prayer. If we're not praying together, then we're hurting each other. And I think most of the classes are praying together, and I see that. But as teachers, we need to be saturated in prayer, and we need to be praying over our people. The seventh is genuine relationships, right? We want to see discipleship through proximity. We want to be living life together, building real relationships, and connecting generations. We also want to be mission-minded, and I see a lot of groups are focusing on outreach or inreach, or maybe both. But we want to think about how can we gather and serve. And I'm actually working with Paul to figure that out. How do we be more missional with our life groups? How do we connect more so that others can do more in the community, but also serving inwardly in their local community, globally, nationally, internationally, whatever it may be, but we want to think through that. And the other is that we want to be committed church members, right? We should be modeling Christ-like attitude and behavior and all of these things, but we should also show them the value of being a church member, because if we're a church member, then we are in agreement with the pastoral leadership, we're in agreement with the statement of faith, with the vision. And if we don't want people coming to a life group but not going to the church, right? We should always encourage service first, then life group. And so as we think about this, life group shouldn't be replacing church commitment. It should be encouraging it. Now, as I shared these, we then led into the desired outcome. If we are biblically grounded, then our members are going to grow in their understanding of how to read Scripture, so that they grow in biblical literacy, but also theological confidence. We want to equip our people to think rightly. One of the best things I saw at seminary is that they provide all the views and let you decide what you think it is based off of these passages. Because at the end of the day, as long as we agree about Christ, right? Christ is the first thing that we need to agree with and what salvation is. I think we're all starting to see things differently, not differently, but we're all seeing things in the same light. And so we want to equip our people to think biblically, to have a biblical worldview, and to equip others to do the same. If they are Christ-centered, then people are formed by Christ, not our personalities or not our preferences or how we think the lesson should go. And if we're gospel-driven, then we're seeing our members equipped to share the gospel and live it out, right? We want to encourage our people. Are you living by the gospel? Are you sharing the gospel? When was the last time you shared, right? And we want to equip our people to know how to do that well. If we're Spirit-led teaching, then our people become sensitive to the Spirit and they learn how to apply Scripture through the Spirit. If it's Scripture-driven lessons, then the outcome should be that our lessons are structured all around the text, and the text drives our application. Not a commentary, not a curriculum, not our opinions, but what does Scripture actually say we got to do about it? And then if we're saturated in our prayer, then we're seeing that people depend more on God's strength than our own, which is what we want. We don't want to do anything in our own. We are weak, right? In our sinfulness, we're weak. And so we want to have them grow in dependence on the Lord. And the last thing, we want to have genuine relationships. So we shared before, right? We want to bridge the gap between generations and have life together. And if we're mission-minded, then that means we're working towards the Great Commission locally and globally. And for that to happen, we have to be committed church members, meaning we actively attend the church and serve among the church, but our ultimate goal is how do we serve God and His people? And when we do that, we see radical change. And I think if we do this in the future, that'll lead to some good things. The other thing I wanted to encourage, there's going to be a few surveys coming out. Please be at the lookout for that. It's going to help us as we try to do a little research. But my encouragement is let these videos be a guide to you, an encouragement to you, and a blessing, because we want to help and guide. And so through that, we're going to work on future videos that are going to come from this life group meeting, and how we develop those 9 core values and how we can do that together. If you have any questions, please let us know. And I'm just grateful for you. I know it's a lot. We're coming to the meeting, so I know not everybody was able to make it, but I just want to put this for those that weren't there. And if you need anything, please let us know. I hope you have a great week. I'm praying for you, and I'm thankful for all you do. God bless.